We are live, friends. Hello once again, Stream Queens Con. Oh yes, we have the nails back on. This right now. You're singing our lovely image, and here's the real deal. Welcome to the Two Spirit and Indigenous panel. We are here. We are continuing here in Stream Queens Con with our. We're continuing our visibility panel series, and I'm very happy, very pleased to be able to be moderating this one. And I'm going to address the elephant in the room. I'm your host. I'm a Betty Black because everywhere I go, people say, "I bet he is not Two Spirit or Indigenous," and I'm not. I'm here simply to moderate, to hold space for our incredible streamers here. And I'm done with my intro, and I'm going to start passing it around to these incredible drag performers, artists that we have here on our panel today. Let's start with our friend Hope.
Hi, I'm Hope Lethe. Um, you can find me at Hope Lethe on Instagram, TikTok, and here on Twitch, although I don't stream as much anymore, but I'm hoping to change that after Christmas.
Absolutely. And we're excited to have you back. Go give Hope a follow on TikTok. We're going to hear a little bit more about what they do over there on their channel. They're going to share with us a little bit when we are promoting at the end of the panel. But let's keep it rocking. Who do we have just next to you, Hope? Hello, Lilac. I look above.
Hello, I am Lilac Skies, Twitch's very own punk rock vixen. I host shows on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Lilac Skies 29, both featuring myself only and other people. So it's a nice, fun time.
Love it. Lilac is an excellent host, and they were the first person that I got for this panel, and I was so excited to have them here. Thank you so much for being here, Lilac. And then just next to me, we have the incredible, the fabulous, the stunning, Your Highness.
Is it chill if I just take a moment to just like thank and acknowledge everybody who's put together Stream Queens Con
Yeah.
and to all the moderators and everybody who's spoken because it's just been the most wonderful thing and I'm so thankful to be here. So thanks to everybody who put this together.
Thank
Shout
you.
out to y'all.
Huge shout out
Hype
to
in the
the
chat.
team.
Hype in
Yes,
the chat.
hype in the chat. Where are you?
the
Where are you,
chat.
chat?
Yeah. But my name is Your Highness. Some say Your Highness, some say Uranus. But you know, some say Your Penis. I can be found at twitch.tv/Your Highness. I am a variety streamer. I can be seen playing a mixture of games on my Nintendo Switch. You can see me doing crafting streams. You can see, where I show you how I make parts of my drag. I'm slowly moving into doing music streams because I'm also a musician. I'm a multimedia artist. But yeah, if you like chill vibes with chaotic energy, come hang out with me.
Absolutely love that. Welcome all of you for just joining us for this panel. I'm so excited to talk about your stories, about so many things today regarding Two Spirit and Indigenous people, culture within the queer community, within Twitch. But first, let's start with the platform that we're on. How did y'all find yourself here at twitch.tv?
We have an order that we're going in.
I know. I sit here knowing that they're waiting for me to tell them. I will not tell them. Whoever wants to jump in, go for it.
I'll just start. I mean, honestly, like I've been thinking about streaming for a long time, but just life and work and everything, and then the pandemic hit. I lost my job, and I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? Now is the time. And then I just started seeing like this just wonderful community of queer streamers, drag streamers, and it was like, oh my god, encompasses like all of my interests: gaming, drag, community, like. And I was just, it's been just the most wonderful thing. It's been like the silver lining for me of this whole pandemic.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Lilac, what about you?
Well, I've been on Twitch since like 2017, just watching people and like watching games and stuff. But what brought like me like onto the platform of like streaming was she just moderated. I mean, no, not moderated. Hosted a panel today. Oh, Flora. I used to watch her streams, and one day she rated Deer. I don't know if you guys know who Deer is, but
Yeah.
they they rated Deer, and I met Deer, and I was just like, oh my god, who's this beautiful person? And can I be that beautiful? And so I started streaming makeup, and it was not the tea for me at all. I did not like streaming my makeup and doing like games. So in July, I did my first Night of Stars, which is the drag show I host,
Yes.
featuring other performers, and in love with that. And ever since that day, I've just been posting 2 shows per month with Night of Stars and then what I call visual art shows featuring myself.
Awesome. The Night of Stars shows are so much fun. Lilac is an incredible hostess. Thank you, Oflora and Dear, for inspiring Lilac to get on down to the drag streams as well. We love that. And Hope,
So
how did we get you? You can also talk.
I'd been on Twitch for a really long time,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
watching, and my husband is like really into watching video games, and I thought, okay, well that's weird, but I'll try it. And I started finding creators, and one time I noticed that there was a makeup stream, and I saw Eat a Salad in there, and so I was like, "There's drag on Twitch! Oh my god!" And so from there, I met Chalora and Amethyst Millennia, and I was just like, "Oh, this is it. This is where it is. This is where my side of Twitch is going to be." And they encouraged me to start doing it, and I was like, yeah. And then they were like, have you ever tried drag? And I'm like, yeah, but I wouldn't stream that. And I did a couple of drag streams, and they went over really well. Unfortunately, my computer kind of melted right before COVID, and I had my game destroy itself, and it was awful. But we have a new computer now, and waiting for a second monitor, and I'll be up for streaming right after Christmas, hopefully.
We are so excited. So you've been more active on TikTok. Make sure you get down to TikTok and find Hope Lethe. But yeah, we're so happy that you're here on Twitch today, and hopefully more in the future. Now, since this is the Two Spirit and Indigenous panel, we all want to hear about where y'all come from. So, like, where are we right now? You don't have to, you don't need to give away too much information, but let us know, sort of where you come from, and feel free to share a little bit about your individual tribes.
I'll start. So I am Wampanoag. My family is Wampanoag heritage, but we were actually, my ancestors were taken from the Wampanoag tribe and brought to Nova Scotia, Canada, to help people learn how to live on the land, which wasn't great, but it happened. And so we've been disconnected from our heritage up until that point. And then I am the first member of my family to start learning my culture and start actively participating in my culture, because it does sometimes get very frowned upon, especially if your family has become colonized, to decolonize and stuff. And I am being brought up in Anishinaabe culture, as my husband is Mohawk, and that is part of the Alliance of the Anishinaabe.
Okay, so you were brought up Wampanoag, and now you've married into.
So I was brought up knowing that I'm Wampanoag, but I was brought up white.
And I'm sure, and we'll touch on. Yeah, I know Lilac brought up the topic of blood quantums and reclaiming your heritage, so we'll touch on that plenty. Like, you just wait. Let's not wait too long. Lilac, tell us about your heritage.
Yeah, so I am actually mixed race. I am all three different things: white, Indigenous, Native American people prefer different things, and Hispanic. But I would say I think from the last time I looked at my stuff, I'm mostly Native, and I literally just said it, Hispanic. So I'm from California, so my tribe is the Chumash tribe, which for anyone who lives in California, you probably know a lot of our locations like Pismo Beach and Cayugas Beach and Morro Bay. A lot of those places in Malibu are all Chumash territories, and I grew up pretty knowledgeable on my background and tribe and whatnot, because it wasn't like a secret. I always knew that I was, but my great grandmother, who I never met, was more into the tribal customs than the rest of my family was. So I, even though I do know my culture and like big parts of it, I'm still having to teach myself a lot of it at the same time, though, just from some family members being interested and others not.
Yeah. So you're sort of dealing with that. I guess I think of it sort of as like a duality of, there are some people that are getting you that information, but you're really having to seek out additional things just for your own. And then I'm sure we'll talk on that more, but I feel like that's a big thing in the conversations that we've had together, is you all having to sort of do the homework yourselves a lot of times to really find the necessary information about your people. But we'll touch more on that soon. Your Highness, tell us.
I mean, and that's very much my story
Yeah.
is I'm of Yaqui descent, which is like a northern region of Mexico, Sonora. Also south like western states. So like the Yaqui can be found in California, Nevada, Arizona, and they actually have a um uh, they're mostly based in Tucson.
Hmm.
That's like where a large group of them live. So but yeah, like I knew that I was like mixed, but it took a long time for me to actually learn that I was of indigenous descent. And it was just something that my family decided to not talk about. And a lot of customs and things just didn't get passed down. The languages didn't get passed down. The histories didn't get passed down. And it wasn't until maybe in college when I was like, oh, I need to actively like learn about all of this stuff. I need to like learn my family history and where we come from. And it's heartbreaking because it's just a very common story.
Yeah. I mean, even just in hearing what all three of you said, between Hope being fully saying that they were raised white, Lilac is still doing a lot, a lot of the homework on their own. Your Highness, you're in that same situation. I guess, could we sort of speak to that sort of as a, as a people? I guess, what does that sort of feel like? Where, like, how is it finding that information? Lilac?
I can go if y'all want me. I don't know. Um, it's 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 complicated because it's like accessible, but that's also not accessible at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you can Google the majority of tribes, and you can obviously Google like indigenous backgrounds, but there's so many tribes that finding out information on your specific one can become difficult. And I
Yeah.
do think a part of the reason that is too is because sadly the U.S. government, and I don't know, I can't really speak on the Canadian government, but at least my experience living in the U.S. is they do kind of want to like erase all of that, and they don't want it out there anymore because they're trying to run from what they did. I'm looking at you, Pocahontas. Uh, so yeah, they just really so it's it's accessible information, but it's also like you do kind of have to dig. Like normally you'd be able to just Google stuff, but I have like a book that I'm learning the language from.
Yeah.
Like it's still you have to really dig for things.
I mean, it's hard enough sifting through fact versus fiction in general, let alone with something like, people also, I feel like, funnel a lot of indigenous cultures into the same place. And I feel like that is an additional issue just in trying to find out, the things that y'all are looking for. What about Hope? What in researching, I guess, in researching and learning, what's your experience been?
Well, so my tribe is badass, but like,
Yeah.
like we we were colonized twice. We're still here, so like, so the history I found was that Wampanoag people, when doing blood tests, as the government sometimes has you do,
And you're in Canada,
um,
by the way, for chat. Hope is in Canada.
yeah, um, so blood quantums are not necessarily a thing here for the government, but they're not a thing. My tribe is not recognized as one of the Canadian tribes, so I am not recognized by my government, even
Mhm.
though they took my people and brought them to Canada. Um, so I found out that the Wampanoag people test positive for Scandinavian blood because Norsemen or Danesmen came to America before, Christopher Columbus thought he discovered us. And so,
The first liar
and yeah,
of many.
and so we're right along that east coast, so we got a lot of the first ships and stuff were like that. So I found out that we were pretty badass, and like, I mean, It's cool. I had a lot of trouble getting to know my culture at first because I have blue eyes. I keep my hair blonde because I went gray really early and it's just easier than dyeing all my gray hairs, and so I
Yeah.
was turned away a lot.
Yeah.
To even learning my culture. It wasn't until I was in college that someone came up to me and she was like, "Look at your cheekbones. You're native." And I was like, "I am." And
How
she's
did,
like, "Well, if you want to learn, I need to teach. I need a new assistant because all my assistants are over 60 and like we need some young people to come and like learn the culture." So I just got like crash course. 2 years of college was 2 years of constant learning my culture, and it was fantastic. But
what was that moment
not a lot
like
of
when
people.
someone just looked at you and said you're native?
It was great. I I cried a little.
Yeah, I can imagine. I got chills just hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, and I love her. I call her Kokam, which is grandmother in the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe language. Um, I am still learning very much to speak Ojibwe. It's probably never going to be fluent, but I'm trying, and that's I think what matters is that we just try to keep it alive as much as we can.
Yeah, it's incredible. Your Highness, what's your experience been like? I know you spoke to it a little bit, but what's your experience been like learning about your heritage?
I mean, it's just, I mean, the more I learn, just the more my heart breaks. There's a lot of information out there. It's not easy to find. But I think with like what's going on in the world, what's going on in the United States with the Black Lives Matter movement, a lot of people just in general are like getting more woke than ever and like have this energy to uncover truths and to find out, like, really peel back the layers of these systems that we're living in. And so like I recently learned that as of 2016, over 5,700 indigenous native women have gone missing, and that was 4 years ago, so the number is probably more. And 87% of indigenous women have experienced some sort of violence or abuse in their lives. And I've seen it happen with my family. I've seen religion come through and just destroy everything. I've seen
Yeah.
Catholicism take over everything. I've seen Christianity take over everything. And I don't know, just more now than ever, I just feel more empowered. And all of us should, as queer people, as people of color, as indigenous people, we need to be more visibly everything and more outspoken about everything. So yeah.
Well, and you said it perfectly. That's why I'm so happy that we're having this conversation. So, I guess I sort of had this same like awakening when I started. Like I found my blackness through really seeing the like the police killings. It was like no matter how many no matter how many times I was told I wasn't black enough, I still felt something very like chemical and innate regarding what was going on in the world. So I guess what's inspired. I mean, I look at each of the three of you and the conversations that we're having, even before this panel about this stuff, and y'all are in it. Y'all are focused. Y'all are wanting to learn. It's your heritage. So I guess what inspired you to pick up the baton and be the people to try and break cycles and build new cycles for your families.
For me, it was seeing how much my mom's mother is hurt by colonialism. Like,
Yeah.
she just always is, don't tell people you're native. They're going to take your kids. If you have kids, don't tell anyone. And people think that that's a thing in the past, but just a week ago in Manitoba, a woman was speaking Ojibwe while she was giving birth to her husband, and they took her baby, and it's in children's aid now, just because she was speaking what Canada deems a dangerous language
A week ago.
a week ago.
Like y'all
Dang.
just let that like just to the chat, like literally for anyone that like isn't like I didn't know about this, but like can you imagine for just because they
No,
overheard them
that's
speaking?
Yeah, one of my friends, she's has her status card, and she brought her baby into the hospital because there was a malfunction on one of the baby furnitures thing, and her baby fell, and she was a brand new mom, brought him to the hospital. They saw a status card. They saw a baby with blue eyes with a status card, and they took her baby, and it took her 2.5 years to get her baby back. Like, the government is still stealing our kids. And so I understand my grandma going, you need to not tell people that you're Native or they're going to take kids. Now, I've decided I'm not having kids, mostly because of all the issues in the world. I don't feel like bringing a child into this world.
Very fair. Wow.
So it inspired me to like actually get going, and I was really involved in the Wet'suwet'en protests that were happening in February in Canada. We kind of we put the entire economy of Canada at a standstill by camping on one set of railroad tracks, which was kind of cool. But at the same time, it shouldn't have had to do that. We shouldn't have had water cannons pointed at us at minus 40 degrees Celsius. Like, that's not something that should ever happen because we said no to a pipeline.
And I mean, that evokes images of the civil rights movement, and protesters getting hosed in the streets. And so often I feel like we let so many things fall to outside of our peripheral vision, and so often I feel like it is the Native and Indigenous people that are left outside of the peripheral vision of woke culture. But so we're here. We're doing this thing. Lilac, how did you not just get inspired to research more, but get inspired to speak out so much and be so visibly Native?
Well, for people who don't know, outside of Twitch, I am a journalist, and I do already like write in publications. So I think when being a journalist, I don't want to say good journalist, but most people who are naturally journalists are people who don't are very outspoken about like injustices and stuff, and because I always get fired up about those
Yeah.
kind of things, I tend to not be very silent about things I care about. And the reason I decided to get so vocal is because I can speak about sexism and racism and like BLM all day because those are important to me. But this is me. Like, this particular thing affects me. It is me. I am the person that's oppressed in this situation. And I just kind of over time learning more and more about our history and seeing stuff like seeing people like in my store that I work at calling me like a redskin and thinking that was like a compliment. I was like, I woke up one day and I was like, I'm not tolerating this in my life anymore, and I'm gonna make it known to other people that we as a whole aren't tolerating this anymore. So that's kind of
That's so
just
powerful.
fired into a rage, and I said, you know what, I have a platform, I'm gonna use it.
That's absolutely it, and that's what we have to do. Like, we've got the charisma, we've got the resources in a lot of ways to be able to do something. And I think when we can acknowledge that in ourselves, and do what you can in the way that you can. And I think that, just I don't know, I just really admire how y'all all came to the table. Your Highness, how'd you become so outspoken and focused on holding it down for
I mean,
Indigenous
really
folks?
wasn't until college when just I just my mind was just expanding and growing and learning, and I was taking a lot of like critical theory classes, and there was this coalition, like the Indigenous Arts Coalition,
Mhm.
and one of my dorm mates also Native, and we had talked a lot, and she knew that I had was of Native descent, and she was like, "Why don't you join this?" And it was weird for me too because like, and this is just something in general that's been hard up until recently for me to like understand where my perspective comes in on the situation as being mixed and being predominantly white, and being like, where is it okay for me to speak on this, and all, and it's just a mind fuck.
Yeah.
But feeling seen in that way and being like, oh my gosh, and then feeling impassioned to like really just delve into that aspect of my life, and my but then also like seeing my personal narrative, like of how my queerness, and I consider myself non-binary, and just to see how like my this depressed my queerness to like, and I just to see that just is like a mirror image of the larger problem at hand.
Yeah.
And just knowing how it affected me personally, and also just knowing like that I've benefited from so many privileges as somebody who appears white, to know that my experience is nothing like those of others with less privileges than me, and that is just heartbreaking, like, because I know it's messed me up, so I can only imagine, you know
And
so
that
that, and just Twitch for me, like, is it's so important to, if we have this platform, to use it to just spread awareness on so many different things.
most definitely.
Can I
And
take a second
yeah,
here? It's really significant that the other two Indigenous people who are doing drag on this stream are wearing red dresses. For those in the comments who might not know, on May 5th, every year we have Red Dress Day, which is support of missing and murdered Indigenous women. So it's really it's touching to me because yes, I am in drag. I'm in boy drag right now, but I am an Indigenous woman, so it's very touching to me that you guys are wearing a red dress. It's very thank you so much for spreading that awareness. And for those who don't know, just look up missing and murdered Indigenous women on Google, and please go to a thrift store, get a red dress, and on May 5th, hang it out your window.
May 5th. Absolutely. No, I think that is absolutely incredible. This is I feel very blessed to even be having this conversation with y'all. So thank you for that. So in speaking about Twitch and community and just making sure that people on Twitch know about things going on in for Native and Indigenous folks, what's your experience been like finding community on Twitch, or even TikTok, if you want to weigh in on that, Hope, finding other Native, Two Spirit, and Indigenous folks on your platforms?
So on TikTok, the Native community is huge and very supportive of each other. I am not necessarily like my side of TikTok is more kink talk than native TikTok, but I do post about being natives every so often. And anytime people come at me for being native or anything like that, which it happens, the native side of TikTok is very quick to jump and educate and condemn it. And we had an entire day of, well, we had the blackout day for Black creators, and then similarly on Indigenous Day, or what would be Columbus Day in the US, we did it for Indigenous creators, where everyone else who is not an Indigenous creator, the only thing they were posting was links to Indigenous creators, and
Yeah.
Indigenous creators were posting their original content so that it would be at the front of the For You page. I don't know much for Twitch, except I have been given the opportunity to speak here, which I really like. I've been given the opportunity to speak on Native issues before on multiple queer streams, which has made me really happy. But I haven't quite found the Native community on Twitch yet.
Yeah. Your Highness?
Oh, so I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong. As far as I know, I don't believe there is. Is there a tag for Indigenous? I don't
I
know.
don't believe so.
I don't
No.
believe there is, right? And then to get just like, because if people don't know about what's been going on with the trans tag stuff, so basically, the trans community, and all of the trans community's allies have been fighting to get the trans tag to be a thing, and it's been this long ongoing battle, and Twitch finally was just like, nope. Um, so to think, if that's not going to happen, what's the likelihood of us getting the Two Spirit added to the LGBTQIA? Probably
Yes.
not likely, right?
Yeah.
So it's really hard to find other Indigenous streamers.
It
But that
is.
being said, I would like to give some shout outs to some of my favorites. May I?
Yes, by all means.
Yes. So, Baby is a drag artist from LA, and they do queer as punk. So at queer as punk, they throw
Yeah.
drag shows that drag shows that also highlight local art, musicians, and all of that kind of stuff. They're amazing. Um, so Gene Decay at the Mix Files, so the MX Files, an amazing Indigenous streamer, drag artist. They play video games. They're amazing. And then Lisa Frankenstein and Cochina Rude,
Yes.
who can be found at It's Lisa Frankenstein on Monday nights. They do Nightmare Fuel. And they also host a drag show, well, multiple drag shows on Princess Forever. It's Princess for
Or
EVR. For EVR.
mm-hmm.
So those are amazing Indigenous content creators. Please go support them. Please go follow their respective channels.
Do it. Your Highness has told you what to do. All you got to do is do it. That's it.
Can I add on to that quickly?
Please.
So I did not want to like publicly talk about this yet, but I think this is a fitting place to kind of reveal it. I've been following the trans tag for a very long time, and if any of you follow me on Twitter, you'll know yesterday morning I was very upset about what they had to say about that.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, I have been kind of like researching and on stuff on how tags work on Twitch. So I was planning to start like kind of petitioning and raising awareness for an Indigenous tag, but and that's why I wanted to bring it up because like your Hannah said, it's like the likelihood of us getting one. Like I'm not going to let it stop me, but it's a very low likelihood because they're not even willing to acknowledge the trans community. I'm like, so are you going to acknowledge me? Am I not good enough for you either?
It's so, and it's these are such valid points to bring up because there can be all the speculation in the world of what could happen and what could come, but what we have, especially in, we spoke a little bit before. I find a lot of kinship in when I hear stories about Native folks because it makes me think a lot about what Black folks went through in our history as well.
I mean, it's all related.
Yeah,
it's a global issue.
it is, and if we look at
there are
history,
Indigenous folks in every continent,
everywhere. And if we look at history, then like there's nothing to give us the belief that it's gonna pan out in the trans tag coming through and Native and Indigenous Two-Spirit tag coming through. But in speaking about, I know your Hannah's mentioned the two being added to the LGBTQIA. What I know Hope specifically identifies as Two-Spirit. I'm not sure if Lilac or Hannah's do. Please do let me know. But Hope, what did it mean for you to see that the two was added to the LGBTQIA plus?
So on Twitch, it was kind of like, well, about time. But it's been a thing in Canada for a while.
Yeah.
That it rolls off the tongue, and I forget that when I'm talking to my American friends, when I say LGBTQ2IA plus, they're like, "What's the 2 for?" And I'm like, "Me."
Me. Yeah. That's it. And that's the sentiment that because people act as if they're being burdened by another letter being added or another digit or letter being added to the acronym, and we have to remind them that these are about people, these are about specific real people. So
Sorry,
I think
it's a tongue twister, honey.
life is
Get into it.
life
Life
is a tongue twister, and we're trying to
If
figure
you
it
get
out.
to name your kid Mackenzie Taylor something Taylor and something, which is a tongue twister, you could say LGBTQIA plus whatever letters we decide to add.
If you can recite the words, if you can recite the lyrics to a Megan Thee Stallion verse, you can say LGBT. Let me make sure I get it right. The LGBT2QIA plus, right?
Yeah.
Word. I see. I did it. Work. But so let's shift focuses just a little bit. We're gonna throw in just a light question before we dive back into more of what we're talking about. Once again, since we are on Twitch, we are on a video game streaming platform. We spoke about this regarding Black representation earlier during the Black panel, but what is a video game that brought you to gaming, and also how have and I guess in gaming or in other media, talk to us about representation, and if you've seen it in video gaming in places that you like it, if you've seen it in places where it's like, I mean, there are plenty of places that we can talk about where it has been done wrong. But let's share what got you into gaming, what was that game, and we'll start with misrepresentation. Where have you felt misrepresented in games or other media?
Everywhere, but I guess we start with Pocahontas.
Yeah. That is a great starting
Like,
point.
Yeah, and this is just media in general. Yeah.
our first stolen sister. Like,
It
and they
yeah.
just did that all wrong. They romanticized a child being assaulted and stolen, and then they came out with the second movie, which was even more atrocious and was like, "Oh, she wanted to marry this other dude, not that she was stolen from her home and paraded around England like it was nothing and then forced to marry."
Yeah.
Never mind that Pocahontas itself meant dirty, disgusting child or something like that. It was not her name.
And it's I mean it's really like it's just disgusting to see how history has been completely scrubbed in a lot of ways because like people treat the story of Pocahontas that they see like the Disney movie, they treat that as like the story, and
Yeah.
that happens with a lot of especially Native and Indigenous teaching in school for sure. um
There there was a trend going around on TikTok, and I actually participated in this trend, and the song was like, "I'm mad at Disney, Disney, they tricked me. Had me wishing on a shooting star." And then it's now in 20 something, I still know nothing about who I am or what I'm on. And as Native creators, what we did was we dressed up in regalia and we did our handprint for the missing and murdered Indigenous women because, yeah, thanks, Disney. You made it sound like it was cool and everyone was running around playing cowboys and Indians, and we're sitting here going, okay, cool, but we still can't find our culture. And Two Spirit people, we're still struggling to get accepted. Like, even though Indigenous peoples are decolonizing, Two Spirit people are we were genocided. Like,
yeah.
it was, you can't be Native, you really can't be Two Spirit. Like, how dare you be queer and Native at the same time? And a lot of people are struggling with that. Like, I still can't be queer at most powwows that I attend, except for there is an entire Two Spirit powwow in Ontario, Canada, which is fantastic, and everyone can be as queer as they want there. But outside of that powwow, like, there are just certain things that I can't do because I am perceived as a woman and that's not my place to be there. And it sucks to know that we've lost that.
Yeah, this runs very deep. Let's continue on our places of misrepresentation. Where have you seen in gaming and movies? I know that there's a list. Where have we seen yourselves misrepresented in media?
Well, if we're talking about media in general, I mean, you spoke about a lot of this in the Black visibility panel. It just in general in gaming, there's just not a lot of representation of people of
Yeah.
color, or like skin tone options. But there really isn't a whole lot of representation of Indigenous folks. My earliest memory of seeing Native representation was actually in Mortal Kombat 3 Annihilation, I believe, is the introduction of Nightwolf,
Hmm.
which is actually really interesting because he was played because you know back then they used to like take pictures as and animate them as like the graphics.
Yeah.
It was actually he was actually played by a native person named Lightfoot, a native actor, I believe of Cherokee heritage. So I know that isn't misrepresentation, but like is actually like the earliest I can remember, and it's pretty accurate. And his story is actually really cool. Like it's canon. Um, he's like protecting his culture. He's
Yeah.
fighting to protect his culture. But like the earliest like misrepresentation I could remember is like watching like an old Betty Boop
Oh wow.
cartoon.
Yeah.
There's like one where she like visits these natives in like the woods, and she brings all of these like instruments like tubas and trumpets and all this kind of stuff, and like introduces them to like music as if they didn't know what music was, like as if like they don't have their own beautiful instruments or their own beautiful songs that they sing. And the way that they portray them, it's like they're stupid, they don't know anything, they've never seen anything before. And I remember even as a kid, even though I didn't have the language, and the education to really understand the depth of it, I just
Mhm.
remember just being like, this is weird, like this just
Yeah.
feels wrong.
Comfortable.
you know
It is. It's
and
very.
then oh, what were you saying?
No, no, no. Go for it.
Oh, I mean, I could give you more examples, but that's kind of the main.
It makes
Peter
me
Pan.
it makes me think of a lot of like the old, especially Disney style of animation. I mean, Betty Boop had a whole slew of issues.
Oof, I mean,
But I even think of like the crows in Dumbo, and just these. It makes me think of just these old racist caricatures of Native and Black folks as uneducated, as savages, as just it's really upsetting to look back on.
There was that whole Peter Pan movie with What Makes the Red Man Red. That whole song.
like the tiger, everything.
Oh
Wow.
yeah,
Right.
it was bad.
And it still is like there. I feel like
Oh yeah.
certain things from certain things like that from like pop culture, media history, sort of I don't know. I feel like certain parts of this like you don't hear about. Like we heard about the Dumbo crows, we heard about certain things, but like I personally didn't catch the. I didn't watch a whole lot of Peter Pan, honestly, but I never caught that song, you know. And there's so many things that like get missed along the way with all this. Lila,
I also
sorry, go ahead. Hope.
oh go ahead. I also wanted to note like it's a huge thing to have in a lot of like games. I'm not sure of any titles at the moment, but when you're doing like character creation, they have tribal makeup and stuff, and a lot of it is very traditional patterns that we wear, like that have very significant meaning. And they're like, "Oh yeah, it's just makeup." And it's just like you tried. The bar was on the ground, you still managed to get under it, but like, come on.
That.
Do better.
Yeah, and the bar is incredible. The bar is underground, and people still find a way to get under it. It's ugh. But Lilac, what about you? What's your perspective on misrepresentation in games or other media?
Well, first of all, I'm taking off these earrings because my ears are dying. They were really cute, but about 30 minutes and I'm done. Um,
We enjoyed you earrings. Come on, we're doing it live.
but I think this is, I mean, I don't really know if this counts as like the media. However, I think one of the biggest problems with misrepresentation is all these colleges, all these high schools, all these middle schools, even all these NFL teams who think it's so cute to be like the Wisconsin, like, I don't know, the Wisconsin, or I don't know, I can't think of a word, like, oh, like the Washington Redskins, like, and people think that's like fine, or like a compliment, or like that's some type of like honorary word, and I'm like, nah, no. And the biggest problem with it is too is with the team name comes the like fan culture. So there ends up being a mascot of like a native man. There ends up people coming to games and headdresses and like makeup, and it's like you can't do that. And I don't understand. What I've never understood is like it's obviously very much like at this point people know like blackface isn't okay. So then why do we act like wearing native makeup is okay?
And that's it's a real question, and I've noticed it too. Like people are more quick to center, at least verbally, maybe not in behavior, but people are quicker to center black people and to not uh they'll dance around the words that they say a lot more. But there are other communities that people still feel like there's like a free pass to be disrespectful towards. And it's the team name thing is so ridiculous because we see people attach more people attach their identities to their team when the team name is literally like a slur to an entire community of people. And it's really gross to see that how colonialism has filtered down because it
Oh
just takes
yeah,
on different forms.
and the excuses they give for it is like atrocious. It's like I did an article last year on why the Redskins need to change their name, and when doing my research, I found out the guy who owns the team's reasoning was saying, "Oh well, our team name represents honor and like pride," and I was like, "Okay, first of all, it's not your honor or pride, and second of all, that name has no honor or pride because it's literally a slur." It's like I don't know. It's just do better.
Changed, but still, it's like
It goes to
no,
show how averse to change people with privilege are when all that
absolutely.
when all that marginalized folks need is change. and not like giant sweeping change, just equity and equality is all that we're getting at. So we have about 15 minutes left. We're gonna do we're gonna hit one light question, and then we're gonna see how we round it out. So we did jump right into representation in games. So let's really quickly just go around and say what is the first game that y'all got into.
The Sims.
This,
I'm waiting for Paralives to come out because EA needs to do better, especially with their representation. We've been arguing about the skin swatches for years, and they released a song how they were anti-racist and didn't fix the skin swatches. So I'm waiting for Paralives to come out, but until then, I'll be on the Sims.
work it. Love that. Like, what about you?
Okay. I mean, actually, I could give a quick little fun story because of this answer to this question.
Lay it on.
I wasn't really when I was like super small, but when Dead Island came out, if anybody remembers that,
The Desert
moment,
Island?
I got really into Dead Island, but I was like somewhat young, I guess, and like gullible. So after I played that game, I got really scared and like completely bored of my house. I was like, we need to prepare for attack. It's going down. The zombies are coming.
What did you board up your house with?
Oh, we would have died in 2.5 seconds. It was like duct tape and like I think I had like an alcohol spray can as if that was gonna like kill any zombies. It was not. I was not saving nobody, but I really thought I was like about to be Ash from Evil Dead saving the world.
Oh my gosh, Lilac Skies and Evil Dead. Duct tape in windows, and hopefully it sticks. I mean, I think we can workshop this.
It didn't stick. Spoiler alert, it didn't stick.
Damn it. There's not gonna be a sequel. Your heinous, what was your first game?
Let me pick one.
Hey, if you just say it, I can't stop you.
I mean, yeah, like I mean, just as early as I can remember, I just was so fascinated by video games. I never owned an NES or SNES, but I did have people in my life that had them. So like I think Duck Hunt was like the first thing I played. I was like, what is
Oh,
this?
Duck Hunt,
And then
yes.
like Donkey Kong, the first two Donkey Kong countries blew my mind. Like music, graphics, gameplay, it's fluid. It really got me into platformers. Like I still am into platformers until this day. But my first system I ever owned was the Sega Genesis, the first one I ever actually like owned. So I played the shit out of like all of the Sonic games.
Oh,
And honestly, the music in the Sonic games is what I think inspired me to get really into like electronic music.
literally that.
And I played a lot of also like Mortal Kombat and like Street Fighter and stuff. And speaking of Street Fighter, there's also another like native rep in there, T-Hawk.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Duh.
Yeah, but like again, when with fighting games, especially, there's a lot of like stereotypes, although they like to call them archetypes rather. But like,
Yeah. There's actually a
like
similar
Street Fighter.
There was a similar character in or maybe not similar, but there was a oh gosh, and this, you know what? I might
You're
be
saying
guessing.
the casino theme, yes.
The casino theme, yes.
Girl, there's just so many tracks.
Did
Like,
any of y'all ever play Killer Instinct on Nintendo with
I
old girl
think
Orchid?
so. I think so, yes.
I could be entirely off base, but I feel like there was a character that was at least illustrated as native in that game.
I think there was in Street Fighter as
Definitely
well.
Street Fighter. Yeah, that's I think. Wait, yeah, that's what your Highness was just talking about.
Yeah,
T-Hawk and your in
Oh
Street
yeah.
Fighter. Yes.
There was
Yeah.
also though the game that just came out like semi recently that has trans representation too. A 2-for-1 deal. Tell me why.
Mhm.
Yes. Oh my
Which is
gosh.
everything. That game is everything.
So, tell me why it's so good. And yeah, Lilac says was fully in my chat pointing out different representations that they noticed to me, and just tell me why is game of the year for sure. So we're close to rounding out our panel. So let me see. I'm just scanning our questions here. What's the best one to go with? Okay. So I guess, okay, so first, as we round out, we want to like also touch base, see where y'all are at, what y'all are up to. But let's talk about your creative outlets. And like drag, we're all here doing drag, we're streaming on different things. And just, yeah, tell me about what you do. You can talk about how your heritage inspires what you do, how it motivates you to do what you do, or just lay it on me. I just want to hear about y'all.
I've gotten really into beading over quarantine for
Yeah.
a lot of my creative outlets. So these are a set of earrings one of my friends helped me make.
Oh, that's
And
gorgeous.
yeah,
I want that.
native people will know this is like our jam. The bigger the earrings.
I love that. RJ. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Lila.
And
Speaking of,
so today was actually the first time I've done boy drag with native makeup themes. But a lot of my makeup looks have a lot to do with my heritage and stuff. I am quite often wearing the handprint in representation of Stolen Sisters. I'm quite often putting the Water Warrior makeup on my eyes and stuff like that, which I love. And I love doing it. And I love going to the bank doing it and scaring people with it.
normalize making colonizers uncomfortable.
Decolonize colonized spaces.
And I mean, that is again, we could talk. The whole con could be about
Actually, you can
decolonizing,
Google that. There's a photographer doing that, and it's like awesome. We've
decolonizing.
got decolonize colonized spaces, and
Boom.
he's like taking pictures of people in regalia, like at skate parks. It's great.
That's so awesome. I absolutely stand that. So work. So we were doing some jewelry, some beading. What else do we got going on for our friends? Lila.
Well, I am not that crafty per se. Obviously, these earrings are plastic and not even meant to be worn on ears. But I said, you know what? I am that bitch, so I am gonna wear clamps on my ears. Um, but no, most of my creative outlets, like I said, I'm a journalist. That's a lot of that, but that's more like professional writing. But I do other writing, like I write a lot of poetry and songs, which my culture has infected affected a lot because I do like to kind of that like generic stereotype of like an opening to a movie that's about like indigenous culture. It's like some old man talking about like the bloom corn moon and stuff. I've done poems like that, so you know, even though that's a stupid stereotype, that's the best example I could give you. But I do a lot of writing, and then obviously anyone who watches my shows, that's also kind of my creative outlet because when I host Night of Stars, it's very just like a I guess like general drag show. People put on whatever performance they want to do. But when I do the ones that are just me, it's a little bit more like of an it gets a bit more abstract. It's not exact. Just let me dance to a song. So yeah.
That's awesome. And so often, like before the black panel, I was like literally off camera, just playing the divas and dancing, and just feel and that got me in like the right. It could be something as simple as that, feel closer to, just to feel closer to your people, and it can, you can find it in so many different capacities. So I'm totally with you on just moving and feeling it.
If you don't dance to powwow drums, like how are you even alive?
That is the statement. That's the word. That's the takeaway. If I could retitle this, no, I'm just kidding. But your heinous. Yeah. How has your, you know what we're talking about. Tell me about your art.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I do too many things sometimes where I don't even know what to talk about. Like I am a multidisciplinary artist through and through. I've dabbled in everything. I make music. You can find my music at vainhane.bandcamp.com. I wrote a whole album about surviving abuse, about being queer, and all of the trickery and triary of all of that. I can be seen doing a lot of stuff. I don't even know where to start. But
Yeah.
I think with at least with my drag, and it's changed a lot over the past 10 years of doing it off and on. I think on a subliminal level, I've always been playing with this idea of otherness, and I've always been a creature, and I think that is deeply tied to my background as well. Um,
I think that's so like that really stuck with me. Subliminally tied to this feeling of otherness. And I think that
Mhm.
that's so important for people that don't necessarily resonate directly with that feeling of quote otherness. It's so important to think about that, you know, because we aren't people of color are not just chilling here always just thinking about thinking about being on the outskirts of society like for fun. It's just what we know, and we know that our parents give us the talks about hiding your native heritage, or just like downplaying who you are in order to appease, not to appease necessarily, but to just fly under the radar of other folks. And I love that y'all are not trying to fly under the radar, because that's not how we get what we need. That's not how we get equal. It's not how we get equity. So I adore all of you so much and what you do. We're gonna quickly go around. We got about 5 minutes left. If y'all want to just leave some last words, let people know once again where to find you, and we're gonna say peace out in a hot minute. This hour went by really fast.
Yes.
But Lilac, let's start with you. Where can the people find you, and send us off with your own final word here?
Well, I stream here on Twitch on Lilac Skies 29. My Instagram is also Lilac Skies 29. Twitter though, because they won't give me the username I want, is Lilac Skies Drag. Um, am I like promoting stuff? What am I doing?
You're doing the damn thing. So yes, Lilac Skies 29 here on Twitch and IG. Lilac Skies Drag on Twitter. Absolutely stan. Hope.
So you can find me on Twitch, hopefully starting after Christmas again. But my main focus right now is TikTok. Please, if you're a minor, please do not follow me. My main focus is Kink Talk with BDSM information. And if you need to follow me on Instagram, where it is more family friendly. And yeah, you can find everything there. And I am more than willing to talk about Indigenous issues as well on any of my platforms. So hit me up there. A final word to leave on, because I didn't get to mention it. If you are not native, please do not tell people that something or someone is your spirit animal. That is very tribe specific. It is Anishinaabe culture. It is very much appropriation. And please don't use Patronus instead, as that is appropriation from J.K. Rowling, and I'm not here for it.
Um, you're heinous.
Yeah. So all of my socials, Instagram and Twitter are at Your Heinous. You can find me at twitch.tv/Your Heinous. I'm also an 18 and up stream because I like to curse and talk about dirty shit. We love it. And yeah, just stay tuned. So much more coming.
Absolutely. Y'all follow these streamers, follow these performers, and just have some respect. Respect native and trans folks, respect two spirit folks, welcome two spirit folks in like as part of our community. And just keep in mind, like there's so many fights going on, there's so many things that need to be fought for, and we need to really make sure that we remember where we come from. And in native people are everywhere, as your highness said, as your highness said earlier, native people are everywhere. They are global, and all everything that we have can be tied back to native folks, and we need to remember that and respect. I absolutely love y'all. We have 2 minutes left. Let's just have a little free chat for 2 minutes. Y'all doing a panel with 4 people as opposed to 6 is crazy.
Yeah, we have a little more space.
Yes.
I mean, again, I just want to say, like, in general, please support queer folks, support black folks, support disabled folks, support trans folks, support indigenous folks. Like, we we need the support more than anybody.
100%.
So please go love and support all of those content creators, artists, streamers, and just lead with love. Like, there's so much hate and violence and grossness in the world. Like, it's easy to take that path. It's just so much easier to, but let's all lead with love.
Let's do that. Lilac.
I would just like to say, if the Indigenous tag is something that you care about, because frankly, we need to have it. Um, Follow my social media, is not because of numbers, but just so when I make that announcement of getting that started, you can be there for it. And if a trans tag is not in existence by the time I do that, I'm going to be very mad. I'm looking right at you, Twit.
Honestly, truly. And if there are plans at work, that's fine. Let us know what they are. We're talking to you face to face. Have some respect. Go follow Lilac, not even just to wait, but just because they're an incredible content creator. And Hope, one more word. Not literally.
Just please remember that bisexual creators are still queer, whether they're in het passing relationships or not, and white passing natives are still natives, whether they look native or not. We're not going to do colorism. We're not going to be you're not gay enough to be queer. Let's be accepting of everyone because that's what we're here for. And my big thing that I'm going to leave everyone with, and that I leave everyone with on TikTok, is drink water, spread love.
Yeah. Thank you, Hope Lathi. Thank you, Lilac Skies. Thank you, Your Highness. Thank you for allowing me to moderate this panel with all of you, and thank you for rocking it out. Shout out to those earrings, Lilac.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.